Hello everyone and welcome to my very first knitting vlog. Now some of you might already know me from the Lavender and Leeks gardening content that I already put on YouTube, but what I thought I would do is start creating specific knitting vlogs, because sometimes in the gardening vlogs when I'm sitting in my shed I do tend to talk about knitting quite a lot, and I know quite a few people do just tune into those videos for the gardening content. So I thought I might as well just set up a completely separate series where I can just talk about knitting non-stop, because I do have a lot of stuff to say and a lot of stuff to share, and I know there's going to be quite a lot to share in this episode because it's the first one, and I have quite a lot to show you. So what I'm going to do today is just do a little bit of an introduction. I'll go through a few of the projects which I've completed, and I'll also go through a few whips and projects which I want to cast on as well. So yeah, very excited. I've got my book of patterns here, so hopefully throughout the episode I can tell you about the patterns and the yarn. But if you do want to find things out in more detail, then you can follow me on Ravelry. You'll find me under the name Katie the Gardener. There's a lot of information on there, and every project which I complete I put it on there, so you can find all the details and everything you need to know. Or you can always just comment below or message me and I will try and answer you as best as I can. And also I'm going to be sipping quite a lot of tea throughout this episode as well, because I'm a complete tea addict. Right, anyway, let's begin. So my name's Katie and I have been knitting now for about a year and a half. I've always wanted to learn to knit. I would say that I'm quite a traditional person, like I'm quite old at heart, if that makes sense. Like I really like the old-fashioned ways and I love the 1940s, and yeah, I like all the traditional crafts and things like that, and I do have a lot of hobbies anyway, so I don't know why I wanted to add another one onto the list. But I think it's also because my nans used to knit apparently, and I've always just felt this sort of connection to it, and I always do sometimes think, oh, you know, I wish my nan was alive now, because she would have just lived down the road in the house that they built and I could have cycled round there and we could have been knitting and drinking tea together. So I do feel quite a nice little connection to knitting through the family. Unfortunately I never got to meet her, but yeah, I do sometimes think maybe she's looking down and thinking, yes, someone's knitting in the family. This is my new little corner. I've been working on it for about 2 weeks now, and it's a little bit of an odd corner because of the alcove. And I was thinking, oh, what can I do there? And then I thought, a knitting corner. So I got this armchair second hand about 2 weeks ago. It was a complete bargain. It's so comfortable. I love it. I put some shelves up to house all my knitting stuff, all the blocking pads. I've got all my yarn in storage here. I bought this trolley from IKEA, and it's just a nice place to sit. I haven't had much time to sit here to do any knitting, if I'm honest. Work has been really, really hectic. But yeah, I am really looking forward to the winter months, probably, when I got a little bit more time on my hands and I can just curl up in the corner here, put my laptop on there, put Netflix on or Disney or something like that, and just do some knitting. Because yeah, I haven't really had much time to do it lately. The only other thing I want to do here is maybe put up like a rail or put some hooks here to hang all my knitted garments on and sort of have them on display. But also I don't like to hide my knitted stuff away. I'm quite proud of it, and it would be quite nice to have somewhere where I could store all my hand knitted garments, so I can look at them. Right, let's start by going through some of the projects which I have completed. I will go through them quite quickly, but like I said, you can check me out on Ravelry if you want to know things in more detail. I'll try and get the patterns and the yarn right as well. I will try and do them in an order that I knitted them, but it might just be easier if I just do them in sort of groups of things. But I will start with the first thing, which I knitted. And I have dabbled in knitting before, but not very much. And it was literally in a straight line. That was it, just basic. So scarves, basically. So back in January 2019, I made myself a New Year's resolution to learn to knit properly. And to get me back into the flow, I knitted a Snood. And this was a pattern. I don't think you really need a pattern for a Snood or a scarf. But just to get me back into it, I wanted to start off nice and easy. This was by Lauren Aston Designs. I will talk about her quite a lot. She's amazing. Her patterns are just stunning. I didn't use her yarn, so I actually had to go out and buy another ball because, yeah, one ball wasn't enough. But the yarn was by Wool and the Gang. Crazy Sexy Yarn, I think, or Crazy Sexy Wool. It's so thick. It feels like a neck brace on, but it is really, really warm. I just love the colour. I love the colour. So that's a proper winter garment there. And then after I knitted the Snood, I thought, for some strange reason, the next thing to do would be a jumper. I don't know why. So I went to a local yarn shop where my boyfriend lives, and the ladies there helped me choose a pattern. They helped me find the yarn. If I go to the jumper section, there it is. It was this pattern here by King Cole. What was the number? 4746. I just wanted a simple jumper. And what I've done is I just went for a plain colour. So I just went for navy, and it was in King Cole Merino Blend DK Superwash Anti-Tickle yarn. I just went for navy because I thought it would be a lot easier, and I just always wanted a plain navy jumper. Sounds weird, but because I'm quite tall and I have long arms and a long body, it's really hard to find jumpers to fit. So yeah, it's nice to knit your own and to be able to make them that little bit longer so they fit you properly. But yeah, it was a really, really easy pattern. It took me absolutely ages. I started it end of January. I don't think I finished it until October. But in all fairness, I did cast on and finish quite a few projects in between that time. So I wasn't completely slow. I mean, I am quite a slow knitter, but yeah, it's actually the jumper that I'm wearing. So like I said, it's just plain, a little bit of a roll neck. I just love it. It's what I would call just a traditional, like, fisherman jumper, I suppose. I call it my allotment jumper because I always wear it up the garden, and it also reminds me a little bit of the jumpers they would wear on the Good Life series. I just love it. It goes with everything. It's just simple. So yeah, really, really happy with that. And then the projects which I did in between that, I knitted a headband. This pattern was by Destiny Meyer, and it's called the Chunky Twist Headband. Took me like less than an hour to knit up. I think this was in February 2019. I wanted a headband because when you've got a ponytail and it's cold and you want your ears to be covered, you can only really wear a headband. And the yarn is Rowan Big Wool. It's really, really nice. I love it. I really do. I wore it today actually because it was quite chilly on the allotment. I also knitted a hat. And I was so scared about knitting a hat. But I knitted my boyfriend a scarf and a hat for Valentine's Day back in 2019. And then I knitted myself a hat as well. So he had a blue one and I had this red one. And again, just a really simple pattern. I think it was a really good beginner hat pattern. It was called Bernat. Oh yeah, Bernat Alpaca Knit Family Toques. I think that's how you say that word. Yeah, really, really easy, just like a rib. I made it a little bit longer so I could have a little bit of a turnover. And it is sewn, oh, I don't know where. I would say my stitching's that good, but I think it's just my eyesight. Oh yeah, there. It is stitched together, so it's not done in the round. But just a really nice simple hat. And this was knitted in Barocco Inca tweed. Yeah, really, really nice. Really nice simple hat. Do you know what? I might as well talk about the hats while I'm on the hat subject, even though it's not in the order that I knitted them. Because I knitted my boyfriend a blue version, didn't fit him, it was too small. So for his birthday last year in November, I knitted him a new hat and I loved it so, so much. I'll show you a picture because obviously he's got it. It's called the Milo hat by Johannes. I knitted it in the largest size because I was struggling to find a hat pattern with a larger circumference to the head. But I knitted it in Cascade Yarns Eco Plus in just a navy colour. But yeah, I was so happy with it. It's got cable knit in it. I had to sort of do like, I don't know what you would call it, but you had to sort of turn it round to create the brim. I'm really rubbish at explaining things. But anyway, I learned quite a lot of stitches along the way there, and it fit him, so I was chuffed. I was really chuffed. And then the only other hat I've knitted is a Christmas hat because I love Christmas. I really love Christmas. And I thought, I'm going to knit myself a Christmas hat. And I did. And it's one of my favourite things I've ever knitted. It was quite a tricky hat pattern, to be honest. I had to do a provisional crochet cast on, and then you also knitted the rib, and then you sort of doubled it over, so that's 2 layers. You had to double it over and then join in the red, so you've got double thickness around your ears, which is really nice and warm. And it's nice and long with a pom-pom on top. So when you wear it, you know, it flops over like a proper Santa hat. It is like a proper Santa hat. I did this in Cascade Yarns. Oh, I've actually got a Christmas divider. That's how much I love Christmas. There's only one thing in there. It is designed by Adina Logsdon. Yeah, Cascade Yarns 2020 Superwash Santa hat. I don't know what else to say about it. It was one of my favourite things to knit. And yeah, I think I finished it like 2 weeks before Christmas, and then I just wore it every day. Even when I was working in the garage and no one else would see me, I was wearing it. So yeah, that's the hats. Going back now, one of the first garments that I knitted was a cardigan for my niece. It was a moss stitch cardigan, and I got the pattern from Hobbycraft. Here we go. Moss stitch cardigan by Knitcraft by Hobbycraft, and I knitted it in the leader of the pack yarn. I used like a mustard colour. Again, I'll put a picture up of the finished cardigan because obviously she's got it. I did it in age 2 to 3. It did come up a little bit too big for her, but she looks so adorable in it. And yeah, I really enjoyed knitting this. It was the first garment which I knitted because I think it was in March 2019. Yeah, so it was the first garment which I had knitted and finished. So yeah, I learnt a lot of new stitches along the way. Moss stitch was a little bit tricky. Took me longer to do because you obviously had to keep changing the yarn over your needle, but I really, really enjoyed it. And she liked it as well, so that's the main thing. So yeah, I knitted that for my niece, and then I knitted a shawl for my mum, which was Tess d'Urberville shawl by K Meadors, and I knitted it in, let me find the pattern. Oh, here we go. I knitted it in Rowan pure wool superwash worsted. I used a light grey, a mustard and a dark grey. Simple pattern, like so easy. You could just, you know, you don't even need to look at the pattern once you know the routine of it. And it was nice and big, so you could wrap it round and tie it at the back, which I really, really loved. In fact, I loved it so much I very nearly didn't gift it to her, which just shows you how much I love my mum. I really, really liked it. So yeah, really easy pattern, really nice yarn to work with. So after I knitted her that shawl, I knitted myself a shawl using the same pattern, but this time I used a very special wool. And in Wales, I have my own flock of Herdwicks. So my boyfriend brought me 2 Herdwick ewes for my birthday. 2018, I think. Gosh, it seems like ages ago now. So I thought, well, I'm going to knit myself a shawl. And I bought some Herdwick yarn online from Crookback Farm or Crookback Barns. And then I paired it with this green, which is Brigantia Luxury Aran, which is 100% British wool as well. Obviously with the 100% Herdwick wool, which is very, very tough. It feels a bit like a Brillo pad, so I wouldn't suggest knitting a jumper out of Herdwick wool. But for a shawl, I thought perfect, because you'll be wrapping it around yourself when you're wearing clothes, hopefully, so it's not going to really touch your skin. And it's so, so warm. Is this the right way? Yes. So here's the shawl. Oh, I love it so much, and I love that it's Herdwick wool. So it's got a little bit of a personal meaning to me. I love it. I wore it all the time in the winter because, like I said, it's so, so warm. I love it. I'd love to make stuff out of my own Herdwick wool, but I think it's quite expensive to send it to, like, you know, to send it away to be made into wool. So yeah, that was that shawl. I am a little bit obsessed with shawls. I think, well, I blame Outlander and Little Women. Obsessed with those programmes. My friend Helen, who I'll probably talk quite a lot about in this video because she's amazing, she made me this shawl for my birthday this year. I love it. It's like the perfect summertime, springtime shawl because it's a bit lighter. She's so talented. She's my hero. So yeah, she's amazing. She made me this shawl. She also knitted me a cardigan with my Herdwick flock on, and she's knitted me a hat with my Herdwicks on, and yeah, I love it. I'll show you something else that she knitted me later as well. But the other shawl that I knitted, this was just before Christmas last year, and the pattern is by a lovely lady called Melody. She is on Instagram. I think her name is Bee Mandarins. She's also on Ravelry. She sells her patterns. She's amazing. I saw this pattern and I was thinking, oh, I don't think I'm going to be skilled enough to knit that, but I gave it a go. Oh, I'm so obsessed with it. I've knitted it 3 times now. I actually gifted my friend Helen a purple version for her birthday this year. And I'm knitting another one for a gift as well. I'm not going to say who, just in case they're watching. But yeah, I love it. I think once you know the stitches and you know the pattern, you know, it's easy. So it's this one here. And this shawl is called the Homestead Shawl by Mandarins. And it's in this lovely, like, rusty colour. I'm so obsessed with this colour at the moment. I know it's very autumnal, but it's beautiful. And I think this is Cascade. This is Cascade 2020 Heathers. And I think this one is called Japanese Maple. But I learned how to do the eyelet stitch and lateral braids for this shawl. And yeah, it's lovely. I knitted it just before Christmas, and I think I wore it to every single Christmas fair and when we went ice skating and everything. I love it. Yeah, just obsessed with shawls. Completely obsessed. So yeah, that's the shawls and the hats. Let me see if I remember where to go to next. We might as well talk about the stuff we've got hanging up. So this is a project I cast on back in January 2019, just after I had knitted my Snood, I think. And I thought, it's going to be quite an easy pattern. I'll see if I can do it. I couldn't do it. Because it was knitting in the round and you had to increase on the, on the shoulders, and I just thought I'm going to put it down and come back to it when I'm a little bit more confident. Anyway, I did, and I'm so happy with it. It's such a beautiful little cardigan. The pattern is by Petite Knits and it's called the Beginner's Jacket. And I knitted it in this yarn, which is, I've got some here left. Oh, dropping yarn everywhere now. It's called Filcolana Penilla, 100% Peruvian Highland wool. Got a ball left, so what I'm thinking, Petite Knit also sell a pattern for like a little vest romper. I thought, oh, that would be quite cute to make a little romper. I don't know anyone with babies. I just like knitting things for babies. Oh, hopefully if I have kids one day, then they'll have a cardigan to wear, won't they? But yeah, it's just a really simple cardigan. I just rolled the sleeves up. But it's got nice little increases along the shoulders. I love the colour. I don't know if you can see. The buttons have little sheep on. Anything with sheep on, I love it. And how cute is the hanger? The hanger is by a company called Red Hand Gang. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I want to have a little rail up here, so I can just display the lovely hanger. But yeah, it's really, really sweet, really cute. I think that was newborn size, but it came up a little bit big. Oh, but yeah, so cute. So I've done that cardigan, and then we go back onto the Lauren Aston designs. Yeah, follow her on Instagram. She's so funny. This is one of the jumpers which I saw, which made me want to learn to knit. I think it's just called the cable jumper, I think. Oh, let's have a look. I think it's just called, cable knit jumper by Lauren Aston Designs. And I used her yarn for this. I think this is just the natural white. I knitted this up in a week. Because it's super chunky, it was so quick to knit up. So it's just got the cable down the front and then 2 cables on the back. You can actually wear this either way, but I really, really love this side. The only thing I found wrong with this is that it's not as baggy as I wanted it to be. I knit it in the right size. I just think I should have knitted it in a bigger size because the arms are quite tight. And with chunky jumpers like this, I really like the baggy look. So yeah, I don't wear it as much as I should, but I think it's gone past that stage where I could unravel it because it started to like mat together a little bit. So I knitted that jumper by her in a week. So easy. And then she also sells a thing called Box of Balls, which is just a box of balls of yarn, basically. And I knitted this really long, colourful, happy scarf, which you can wrap round like 3 times. It's so warm, so comfy. And then another pattern of hers is this cardigan, which I think is called Button Knit Up Cardigan. See what she did there? Very clever. Again, really, really easy to knit up because it's super chunky wool. I decided to switch loads of colours together, and it's got an orange back. It is very, very simple, very, very easy. I think you can knit pockets for it as well. But yeah, I haven't. Just a very happy cardigan. I knitted this last autumn, and I remember it just cheering me up through the winter because it's just so happy, and nice and baggy, which is good. And I think she does a longer version of that as well, which which is really, really nice. I think that's all the Lauren Aston things that I've knitted. This year I've only really been knitting gifts, and there's only been a few things which I have knitted which I can show you now. One of them is these little bunch of daffodils. Tea's getting cold now. I knitted these for Mother's Day. I knitted my mum a bunch, and I knitted my boyfriend's mum a bunch as well. I think I was a little bit bedridden for like a week, so I knitted them up then. It did take me quite long. But I found this pattern for free on the Hobbycraft website. It is by Hayfield, and it is knitted in Hayfield Bonus DK. So I'm sure if you just search for that online, it should come up. But yeah, just again, a really, really simple pattern. But you just knit these 6 petals, and then you knit the trumpet. And then you have to sew them all together, which takes the longest time. And then I got these green pipe cleaners and just wrapped green yarn around them. And I did display them in a really nice like bag with tissue paper, and they look like a proper bouquet of flowers. But then my mum took them out the bag and put them in a vase, and they just do this. So yeah, the pipe cleaners aren't the strongest. But I'm really chuffed with them, and I think they liked them. So yeah, I cross-stitched my mum a little sign as well for Mother's Day. So it was a bit of a handmade Mother's Day. The only other thing that I can really show you is right here. It's this tea cozy. Like I said earlier on, I'm completely obsessed with tea. I'm a tea addict. I'm not even going to hide it. I love tea. And for the past couple of months, we've been brewing up a pot of tea. Sometimes I have 2 pots of tea in the evening. And I thought, do you know what? I need to knit myself a tea cozy for that teapot. So I did, and I found this pattern online. It's by Debbie Birkin, and it's called Basket of Anemones. And I think in her version, it was white with quite dark flowers. But I went for brown because I thought that was a little bit more garden related, like a proper garden shrug. And then I went for some bright flowers. And I think the brown was King Cole, Anti-Tickle, DK. And then I think the flowers were just like leftovers from my basket. But yeah, I love it so, so much. It did take me quite a long time. It took about a month to knit. But that's just because I didn't have the time to properly sit down. So it was a little bit on and off. But you had to knit 20 leaves, 20 flowers, and then sew them all together, which, yeah, took a long, long time. Anyway, I'm turning into one of those ladies that is a little bit obsessed with tea cozies now. And my lovely friend Helen knitted me a second tea cozy. And it's funny because I was going to knit myself this one before I found the pattern for this. But this is a beehive with 2 little bees on it. And she very kindly sent me this teapot because she didn't want it anymore. And I said to her, oh, I quite like the idea of having like a Welsh dresser full of teapots with hand knitted tea cozies on. So I will hopefully add to my collection of tea cozies over the next many, many years to come. I know you can get some really quirky tea cozies. But yeah, I think that's about it. I have cast on a few projects, but like I said, some of the projects I've been working on are for gifts because this year I'm going to do a handmade Christmas. or I'm going to knit most of the things. So I can't really tell you about them because people might be watching, and I don't want to ruin it for them. So yeah, it'll be like a year until I can show you them. But I can show you some of the things which I'm going to cast on. And one of them I actually cast on last night. Just started to do the rib in this beautiful Cedar Snuggly DK yarn. It is Snuggly. They call it Snuggly for a reason. And it's just a jumper for my nephew who is, well, he'll be 5 in September. So I'm going to do the grey one. Oh, where am I? Here. But obviously in that blue. So yeah, really, really excited to do that. The other thing I'm going to cast on now that my needles have come is from this wonderful Harry Potter knitting magic book. I love it. Seriously, if you love Harry Potter and you love knitting, this is the book for you. But the jumper I'm going to cast on is the Weasley jumper. Obviously I'm going to do it with a K, but it's going to be in those colours. So I've got the maroon colour. This is in Cascade 2020 yarn. I use it quite a lot. So I've got the sort of red wine colour and then a golden colour for the initial. So that's going to be my next project. I was just waiting for my needles to come and they arrived today. So I can get cracking on that because I am obsessed with Harry Potter. The other thing I was going to show you is the other jumper which I wanted to cast on, but I don't think my skills are up to it at the moment. And it's this jumper by Drea Renee Knits called Wool and Honey. And it's got like a honeycomb yoke bit. I'm going to do it in that colour as well. I've got all the yarn and everything, but I just think it's going to be a bit tricky. So I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do my Weasley jumper, then I'm going to do my nephew's jumper, and then probably that while working on the Christmas presents as well. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like I rushed through that a little bit. So yeah, that's all the projects I've done in my 1.5 year of knitting. A few of the projects which I'm going to cast on. The only other thing I want to show you is something that I treated myself to the other day. And it is this yarn swift. I got a tabletop one because I've got an old vintage desk and it's quite thick, so I didn't think it would fit on there. I love it. I'm so obsessed with using it. It just makes life so much easier. It used to take me like hours to sit there winding yarn up around my knees. And now I've got my Swift and my ball winder and it's just done in like 2 minutes. Boff, done. So yeah, my little knitting corner and all my yarn, and I've got lots of yarn here for projects. Hopefully I'll do more videos like this so I can go through more projects. But yeah, I'm gonna pour another cup of tea and cast on my Weasley jumper. So I really hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you so much for watching and hopefully see you in the next one.